Chart Spotlight.
Super excited to have Hailee Steinfeld here with me in our Apple Music One studios. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. You were saying that you really haven't done anything in person. Obviously, people are still kind of like getting their like sea legs back after the pandemic.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's so wild. I feel like we've kind of been in the groove for a little bit now, but yeah, I mean, apparently not me, because first thing I said when I came in here was like, wow, humans, we're real. We're in person. It's happening.
People here. It's crazy because obviously we'll get into your track Coast with Anderson .Paak, but you know, you haven't really released anything since 2020. And so were you like feeling inspired during the pandemic, or was it like the less pressure type deal maybe?
Yeah, you know, I actually had a sort of interesting quarantine experience, I guess you could say, as far as feeling creative and feeling that sort of freedom that having this time allowed me to experience, just in kind of figuring out what I really wanted to say and the type of music I really wanted to make. At the top of 2020, maybe more towards like a few months in, I released an EP that was sort of meant to be, I say sort of, it was meant to be one of a 2-part deal. I released part 1, and I very quickly realized that I could take this time right now to finish part 2, or start this sort of bigger picture and go a little bit deeper and not sort of rush to get this part 2 out for the sake of getting part 2 out, but kind of work on the real deal. And the EP sort of consisted of a few songs that represented a time in my life that was not great, particularly. I was very frustrated and sad and lonely and confused, and I sort of got that out with part 1, and I didn't really want to live in that space for much longer. So I quickly felt like I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to start working on, you know, this dream project of mine that's been in my head forever. And that was the start of what ended up being sort of 2 years of working on it, and finally got the first track out.
Oh, how exciting.
Very exciting.
You had said that Anderson .Paak was like the only person that you wanted to collab with on the track. So I have a 2-part question for this. One, why? I mean, we all know he's incredible.
Right.
But one, why, like specifically on that track? And then how did you guys end up actually collabing for the song Coast?
Yeah. So a lot of this music, and Coast specifically, is incredibly inspired by my California roots. Born and raised California girl. A lot of people, for whatever reason, are you too?
Yeah.
Are you?
California?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anderson .Paak he's from Oxnard. So he understands, and he's just sort of brought that sort of West Coast, he kind of cemented that element into this song and into this world that I'm creating. And I mean, apart from the fact that he's literally one of the most incredible, if not like, I mean, he's up there. He's one of the greats. I feel so incredibly honored, and just like to hear you say at the top, you were like, we're going to talk about your song with Anderson .Paak. It's like, it still doesn't even, it's so wild to me. I feel so lucky to have someone so incredible and so talented, not only just on the record, but believe in it, believe in me, and want to be a part of this. What's so cool, I feel like a lot of collaborations these days happen through texts or Teams, DMs. You never really even meet the person sometimes. And this really came about through Andy and I becoming friends. And I sent him the record, and it was actually really funny. I sent it to him, and I was like, let me know what you think of this.
Yeah.
And the song was like, you know, however, 3 minutes, just under 3 minutes.
Right,
and he's like, 3 minutes, just like, let me know if you think it's halfway decent, and let me know what I have to do to get you on it. And he wrote back like very quickly and was like, this is nice. And I was like, he didn't listen. He didn't listen to the song. He wrote back, I was like, the song is 3 minutes. It's been 2.5. You know what I mean? Too quick. And this is nice. I was like, yeah, that is a nice way out. We connected on it a few months later, and obviously I had done the song a while ago, but when he recorded his part, we were in the studio together, and that was my first time back in the studio in real life with people in years. So yeah, very surreal moment.
Oh, I love that so much. His energy must have been so insane.
I mean, it's so infectious. I like being in the studio with Anderson .Paak just reminded me of why I fell in love with making music in the first place. And being in a room with people, being in that sort of environment with that energy and with that creativity and that flow, there's nothing that compares to it. It was really amazing.
Chart Spotlight.
So when we talk about the track Coast and that kind of being the first introduction of this, you know, part 2 and this newer project that you're going to be working on and delivering to your fans, kind of where are you taking us on this journey? You don't have to give too much away because we're here to talk about the track Coast, which is such a freaking vibe. It totally has the Cali vibes. It's incredible. But like, where do you see yourself going in the project and taking the listeners?
Here's the thing. I am just so excited that for the first time, I feel like in this way, in a different way, like I mentioned before, I allowed myself to sort of be influenced by, of course, California, like I mentioned, but who I grew up listening to.
Yeah.
I think for the first time in a long time, I went back and started listening to the records that I grew up with from start to finish. And I listened to this sort of journey and this evolution of albums and how, you know, they really do truly deserve to be listened to from start to finish. And, you know, those artists include the Eagles, the Beach Boys, Hall & Oates, to Tame Impala, Daft Punk, and a much wider range of everything that I'm into now. And again, I think people will hear that influence in what's to come, and I'm excited for them to hear that.
I love that. I feel like when I talk to a lot of artists now, you know, they're like, I'm truly making music for myself. Like, yes, it's for the fans because you want to, you know, they're on this journey with you. So you want to include them and give them something that they're truly going to love. But also I feel like I've talked to a lot of artists lately who are like, I'm really making music for me. And it's my favorite music that I've ever made because it's more about like doing what makes them happy.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of looking outwards, like you said, like looking super inwards.
Yeah. I just think that our listeners are not to be underestimated. They know when it's real. They know when it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, the music that I love the most and that I resonate with the most is probably, I'd imagine, some of the hardest music to write. You know, and I think about these artists and what they go through and sort of what I've gone through in some of the songs that I feel weren't easy to, you know, write or sort of bring to life. But yeah, I've always thought, and I remember sort of when I first got into music, I always thought like, if I could create something that's 3 minutes long, 3 or so minutes long, right? Mm-hmm. If I can like make someone feel a little less of, you know, whatever it is they're going through or you know, trying to escape from by simply sharing what I've been through or what I'm going through, that's what my favorite artists have done. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just a song that makes you want to dance. It doesn't have to be that deep.
It
right?
doesn't have to, yeah.
And I think too, with this music that I've been working on, that's where a lot of it came from too, where I had this moment of like getting a lot off my chest, getting a lot out of my head that I felt I couldn't. There was never not going to be a half-written story.
Right.
I needed to do that, and thankfully I did it in 4 songs, got that out of the way. Yeah. And then I kind of was living in this world of like, I just want to feel good. Mm-hmm. I want people to listen to this and I want them to feel good. Yeah. We've been through a lot. We go through a lot.
Absolutely.
Despite what's happened in our world in the last few years, it's like, in general, life is hard. Mm-hmm. So if for those 3 minutes or so this time around, I can make you groove a little, that's the plan.
Yay! I love that so much. Congratulations, by the way, on the song Coast with Anderson .Paak. You guys have to go stream it right now if you haven't. It is such a, like, it's definitely a summer vibe, but like it's going to move into the fall, especially here in LA.
Let's go. Right? It's always summer.
It's always sunny here. Like, we don't have to deal with that, thankfully. Yeah. But as we get closer to the album, I would love to have you back.
Absolutely.
So that way we can kind of dive into it. I would love to just like break it down for the fans so they can have that moment with you.
100%. I would love that. Thank you.
Chart Spotlight.